In the summer of 1863, as the thunder of war rolled across Pennsylvania, a peculiar story began to surface among the wounded soldiers of Gettysburg. Amid the chaos of Pickett's charge, when thousands of lives were lost in a single afternoon, men swore they saw a woman moving calmly through the fields. Not a nurse they knew, not a sister or wife, but a stranger whose face bore no mark of time. Soldiers whispered that she looked identical to how she had been described 2 decades earlier, unchanged, unwrinkled, untouched by the years. Her name was Elizabeth Caldwell, and her presence would spark one of the most baffling medical mysteries the 19th century ever recorded. Elizabeth Caldwell first appeared in the records of Baltimore in 1840. A physician by the name of Dr. Richard Hartwell examined her after a minor accident and noted her age as 23. Her appearance matched that description exactly. Dark hair pinned neatly at her shoulders, smooth complexion, and a vitality that radiated youth. Yet, what startled Dr. Hartwell was not her beauty, but the peculiar stillness of her body's progression. Over the following years, she returned for other ailments, each time presenting the same appearance. Hartwell's notes reveal the bafflement of a man trained in science, but staring at something that defied its laws. By 1851, Elizabeth should have been 34, yet neighbors, acquaintances, and doctors all remarked that she had not aged a day. There were no signs of time's quiet hand, no silver in her hair, no creases at her brow, no slack in her skin. The medical community began to murmur about her, though often behind closed doors. Some believed she used powders or strange concoctions to preserve her youth. Others wondered if her family had stumbled upon a secret tonic. But there were no purchases of elixirs, no curious medicines in her home. She simply lived as any ordinary woman, except for the one extraordinary fact. Time seemed to have forgotten her. The outbreak of a civil war in 1861 threw Baltimore into turmoil. During the Pratt Street riot that year, Elizabeth was spotted tending to the injured, her face still as fresh as it had been in 1840. Soldiers who received her aid recorded her presence in letters home, describing a young woman with calm hands and bright eyes who worked tirelessly. But when officers cross-checked these descriptions against city records, they realized something startling. This same woman had been documented during earlier public disturbances decades before, always described in identical detail, as though time itself stood still in her portrait. As the war dragged on, Elizabeth's reputation as a mysterious figure deepened. In 1862, during a typhoid outbreak, nurses claimed she could move among the sick without ever falling ill. In hospitals, soldiers swore her touch brought sudden calm, even to those near death. One particularly chilling account comes from a Union soldier who insisted he saw her in 2 different wards of the same hospital on the same night, tending to the wounded in one room, while moments later standing silently in another. Doctors dismissed the testimony as delirium brought on by fever, but the consistency of such claims began to trouble them. The climax of her story came at Gettysburg. Witnesses from both Union and Confederate ranks told eerily similar tales. Some swore they saw her kneeling beside fallen men on the battlefield, while others reported she was simultaneously walking the streets of a nearby town, untouched by dirt or blood. A Confederate officer, gravely wounded, declared with his dying breath that the lady with ageless eyes had whispered to him. A Union chaplain later testified that he too had seen her, her youthful features illuminated by lantern light in the church that served as a field hospital. The testimonies, taken together, painted a picture of a woman unbound by natural laws. After the war, Elizabeth Caldwell all but disappeared from public record. Hospitals quietly sealed away the files that bore her name. Newspaper reports that once whispered about her mystery grew silent, as though suppressed. A handful of medical students who had glimpsed her in those years recorded their experiences in private journals, but many of those writings were mysteriously lost or destroyed. By the late 1870s, her name was spoken only in hushed tones among old soldiers and skeptical physicians. It was as if history itself conspired to erase her, leaving behind only fragments of testimony and scattered files. What became of Elizabeth Caldwell is unknown. Some believe she changed her identity and continued to live unnoticed, her secret concealed by new names and new towns. Others claim she was not human at all, but something caught between flesh and spirit, bound to linger where blood had been shed. What remains undeniable is this. From 1840 to 1863, dozens of credible witnesses described the same woman, unchanged in age, unchanged in form. She was there when history bled, yet history itself has tried to forget her. And so, the enigma of Elizabeth Caldwell endures, an unsolved mystery that science cannot explain, a reminder that even in an age of progress, some truths remain forever out of reach. Elizabeth Caldwell's fate may never be known. Was she a woman forgotten by time, or something far beyond human understanding? The whispers of history suggest she walked through fire and blood unchanged, her face frozen in an eternal youth no science could measure. And while her name has faded from official records, the echoes of her story remain, haunting anyone who dares to look too closely at the shadows of the past. If you found yourself unsettled by her mystery, then know this is not the only secret history has tried to bury. There are countless more stories hidden beneath layers of silence, waiting to resurface. Help us bring them to light. Like this video, share it with those who crave the chilling truths of forgotten times, and subscribe so that together we can continue to unravel the sinister tales the world was never meant to hear.